Glitches are normally bad in video games, but sometimes there are those glitches that just really aren't that big of a deal and a big of a problem, especially with those games from the 90s that you had them without patches. Welcome. If you're new to my channel, definitely consider subscribing. I talk about games, old games that come back to life, and all that nostalgic stuff. So if you like that type of stuff, subscribe, like, and we'll move forward. Today we're talking about Sonic Origins. Now there's been a lot of talk, especially when it comes to the Sonic 3 and Knuckles port of the game when it was modernized. I mean, the music's different and there's a lot of just different things going on. But recently a patch was released to fix a glitch in Sonic 2 where Tails would just constantly be jumping off screen while you're Sonic, and it was just annoying because all you heard was Tails jumping over and over and over again. And that was pretty annoying. But today we're going to talk about what about the stuff that was in the original Sonic the Hedgehog 2 that's no longer there, and me in particular, I miss. Now a little bit of history when it comes to Sonic 2. Sonic 2 was released in 1992 for the Sega Genesis, and then of course re-released several times before it ultimately was upgraded in the latest port of Sonic Origins. Now Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is my very first Sega Genesis game. Now I prefer the completeness of Sonic 3 and Knuckles, but Sonic the Hedgehog 2, because it was my first and only Genesis game for a long time, I played it over and over and over again, and I knew the ins and outs of that game. Everything. So then when replaying this game in Sonic Origins on my Steam Deck, I was entertained and of course having a great time going back to those days when I used to play it, and it was an awesome game. The differences started to really stick out for me, to the point where I was just like missing the original Sonic the Hedgehog 2 for Sega Genesis. Granted, I still have my Sega Genesis from way back when, and I still have my original Sonic the Hedgehog 2 cartridge, so I can still play those versions. But man, I wish they would have upgraded the graphics of that original engine rather than redoing it, because there's a couple of things that they probably patched out on purpose that I kind of miss. So without further ado, let's get started on what they are. And if you guys have any additional things that you noticed that were patched out or cleaned up, let me know in the comments down below. But here, let's go. First, now this one is actually kind of an upgrade that I enjoy, and it's not that big of a deal, but the draw distance in the special stage. Now the special stage was a big improvement. Even when I played the special stage back when I was younger, I thought it really didn't look as good as I had hoped. I mean, it tried to do a 3D effect, but it really wasn't working. However, the draw distance in the original Sega Genesis version is quote-unquote much better. And the reason I say that is because if you look in the distance in the upgraded Sonic Origins version, you can see that there's like a large gap in the half pipe that is basically nowhere, and that eventually comes in because it's rendered in, I guess. It's like it's got a poor draw distance. But in the Sega Genesis version, it's always solid. So you always know that there's a bit of half pipe that's just way too far and the Sega Genesis can't make it out. So you can't see it. So you never know what's coming next. But in the latest version, it just looks like you're gonna drop off a cliff. Granted, the special stage looks a ton better, but I was like, come on, that's kind of weird. Moving on. Now this next fix that's related to the special stages and when you come out of, this was actually changed when you actually connected Sonic and Knuckles to Sonic the Hedgehog 2. When playing as Knuckles and you finished the special stage and you would come out of the special stage, you had all of the collected rings and all of the rings were returned to the stage, meaning that you could get even more rings and really multiply the ring count that you had. Now I thought that this was an oversight on the developers way back when I played it in 1994. However, playing it again now, it seems that that little glitch or not glitch is there when playing as Sonic or Tails, which I believe is a huge mistake, because in the original Sonic the Hedgehog 2, when you exited a special stage, you had no rings and you had to start your collection over. I'm not saying that that's the right answer, but it also didn't make much sense that you're multiplying your rings, making it too easy to collect a bunch of rings every time you exited a special stage. I think a fair trade-off would have been you kept your rings, but also the rings that you collected were gone too, because then that makes a lot more sense. But all in all, I do prefer the original Sonic the Hedgehog 2 version without the Knuckles adaptation, because I think was a little bit more challenging, which was better in my opinion. But to each his own. Now this is a little quirk of mine that I actually liked to do when I was a kid and every time I played Sonic the Hedgehog 2, and I don't know if you guys did it. It has really no effect on gameplay, but me in particular, I just like doing it. At the end of each Act 1 stage of each of the levels, and in Metropolis Zone you can do it at the end of Act 2, when you finish the stage and you pass the post, if you jump when the music starts, when you're out of the stage, when you're like not viewable, the end stage music will begin where it starts to calculate your points, but you could actually come back into the screen and just kind of move around as Sonic. And that I thought was pretty cool because I just like mess around with him as like the score's tying up. It gave me something to do while I'm waiting for all the points to calculate up. But in this new version, they completely removed that ability to do that. And when you're off the screen, you can't come back in. You can't like mess around with that screen. And I just thought like, man, it's something I like to do. Why would they remove that? It wasn't a bad game-breaking glitch, so that's my thought. Moving on. Okay, I'm getting nitpicky here, but it's again, it's those little glitches that bring you nostalgia that when you can't do anymore, the game feels different. In the Sky Chase Zone, when you're as Sonic, or even when you're as Tails and Sonic's flying the plane, when you actually are facing those like turtle mechs or whatever, those turtle style enemies, and you jump on those flying turtles, if you're a Sonic, when you're controlling the character, if you press down or up, the plane will move in your direction in the original games. So if you press down, it'll go down. If you press up, it'll go up. And that's a simple thing, right? But for some reason, in the new Sonic Origins version of Sonic the Hedgehog 2, they removed that functionality and the plane just flies straight. Either they removed it or they just never programmed that in. And that small little detail, to me, actually mattered. So again, probably doesn't matter to most, but it mattered to me. And I noticed that when the Sky Fortress passes above Sonic, and then before more enemies started to come at you, there was a specific pattern of fast planes that came at you that were the first planes to hit you. The pattern changed in Sonic Origins when compared to the original Sonic the Hedgehog 2, which, no big deal, but again, me being nostalgic, I like jumped while playing and I'm like, wait a minute, it's not the same planes. Oh man. It's just a nostalgia killer. That's it. Moving on. So, this one in particular, to me, actually kind of matters when it comes to story, but not so much gameplay. And again, it won't matter to most people, but again, nostalgia is nostalgia, right? So, at the end of the Sky Fortress Zone, if you have all of the Chaos Emeralds and you turn into Super Sonic while fighting the final battle and you have a lot of rings, like in Sky Fortress, before you actually go up into space, Sonic doesn't fully change back into regular Sonic. He stays glowing like Super Sonic, though his spikes go down a little bit. But your ring counter starts to deplete your rings as you're going up. Now from a story perspective, to me, in Sonic the Hedgehog 2, the cartridge version, it made sense because your rings are going down. So by the time you're in the Death Egg, that's why you have 0 rings, because all of them were depleted and you're not Super Sonic. While in the new version, you just immediately turn into regular Sonic and you don't lose those rings. And then you start the next level with 0 rings. Again, doesn't matter because in every zone you start with 0 rings anyway. But the point is that from a story perspective, to me, it made more sense that he lost his powers before going into the Death Egg with no rings. So story-wise, they should have probably kept that glitch, maybe fixed his spikes so that it stayed up when he's Super Sonic and going up there, but it doesn't really matter in the context of things. But again, nostalgia's gonna nostalgia. And now the final thing. The Stars version of Super Sonic. Now this I liked from a visual standpoint, and I think that it was kind of sad that they removed it. So, in the original Sega Genesis version, when you have all the Chaos Emeralds and you're Super Sonic, or if you do the code and you get Super Sonic, there's this little trick that if you actually, before you turn into Super Sonics, jump on a TV that's stars, that basically gives you invincibility, and you get the stars surrounding you. Then you collect 50 rings, then you jump, you turn into Super Sonic, but you keep the stars around you and you have like this cool like souped up version of Supersonic that just really looks cool. It's nothing but like a visual. There's no extra powers that you get from it, but it's a really great visual that there's no reason why they shouldn't have kept that visual. Because sure, it might have been a glitch, but it's a really cool glitch. Whereas in Sonic Origins, you get the stars, but then when you turn into Supersonic, the stars go away. And that was unnecessary and kind of sad. So when I saw that, I'm like, ugh, this isn't my Sonic 2. But that's it. Those are just some of the glitches that I kind of relate to that I wish they didn't patch out in this version. And yes, I did buy the phone version, but I really didn't play it as intensely as I did this Sonic Origins version because of the controls. I liked the responsiveness of actually using a physical control in my hands. And that's why now I'm criticizing it so many years later. But let me know what you guys think. Are there any other glitches or little tricks that are no longer in Sonic Origins that you appreciated? Or can you relate to any of the ones that I mentioned? Let me know in the comments down below. And as always, like, share, and you can make my day if you subscribe today. This is Magnus, and I'm out. See you guys later.